everybody, I am Fuji by grace, Fuji in Christ, and Fuji by faith. And today we're going to be unpacking how sin can actually be a good thing and sometimes even necessary, because God really is a good father and he will take the situation and turn it into a testimony. Now the devil really wants us to feel ashamed, he wants us to feel condemnation because he wants us to hide, but God gives us grace and forgiveness, and he calls us to share our testimonies of how he opened our eyes and showed us the way. Being ashamed only makes it harder for us to be repentant because we will feel unworthy of forgiveness, and that's not true at all. In God's kingdom, it's not about deserving, it's about God deciding to give us grace. So a sin that a lot of people struggle with is lust, and it causes a lot of shame because people definitely do judge, and the world wants you to feel unworthy, especially for women. I think of all the names that women get called and how they treated when they struggle with lust, and a lot of people give in to lust not because they are evil or loose or whatever, but it's because they feel unloved and they feel lonely, so they end up going everywhere else seeking for love. But it's when God saves you that you realize that there is no love like God's love. Okay, God literally took his time creating you. He knows the number of hairs on your head. God's love is unconditional, and it is wonderful to experience it after you've looked everywhere else, because now you will know from experience, and it will be easier to trust in God's love than just from hearing it from somebody else's perspective. Another thing is that a lot of us struggle to trust in God's provision, and I know that I have, and that leads us to us idolizing money. But it's those moments where there's no other way, where you realize that there's no provision like God's provision. Okay, his provision does not run out. He's a good father who gives good gifts. Okay, and it's a good thing to come to your senses and realize when you're putting money before God and ask for forgiveness. There's no need to beat yourself up because God knows that we need provision. Look at Matthew 7:9-11. Which of you, if your son asks for bread, will you give him stone? Or if he asks for fish, will you give him a snake? If you then, though you are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask him? If I had an iPhone, a cake, and my child, which of these is more important? So if I give you my child first, would you doubt that I would give you the iPhone and the cake? Absolutely not, because there's nothing compared to the most precious thing, right? And that's exactly what God has done for us. Some of us are under the impression that God is on a budget, but God is not on a budget, guys. You can have whatever you want, but seek first the kingdom, and you must have the faith of a mustard seed, and everything else will follow. Another one is making idols. This one is very similar to, but this one is very sneaky because we don't even realize we're doing it. It starts small, like star signs, and then the next thing you're reading horoscopes, and the next thing you're watching tarot readings. And as humans, we are designed to seek meaning and understanding. There are times where our faith wavers, or we do it intentionally by seeking meaning outside of God, and that's nothing to be ashamed of. But when God opens your eyes and you realize that there's no meaning outside of God, you come back just like the prodigal son in Luke 15:20. But while he was a long way off, his father saw him, filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son and threw his arms around him and kissed him. And this is how God receives us. When we come back to him, he receives us with joy and celebration. So if you've fallen into sin, there is no need to feel down about it, because we are not perfect. Only Jesus is perfect. We all sin, but God gives us grace and forgiveness. There is no sin wasted, because every time we sin, it's a learning opportunity to do better next time. There is always purpose in sin, but if you let it, the devil wants you to feel ashamed and condemned, so you hide, when God actually called us to share our testimonies. God gives us grace and forgiveness, not condemnation. Thank you for joining me today. If you have any questions, corrections, or just want to add to the conversation, comment down below, and I will see you in the next one.